In this video, we are going to look at designing our About page. Now again, before we jump in, it's good to have an idea of what we're trying to design here. So I went ahead and did a markup. So for our About page, I think I'm going to have basically like an About Us in terms of staff. So we'll have a barista section, we'll have an owner section, and a customer section. These first two we'll use Flexbox with. The third one we'll use a new type of display called Grid that we'll cover in a future lesson. So in this video, we're going to design these two sections here. The first one has a header, a paragraph, and then these three sections here that are evenly spaced. We know Flexbox can be a good choice to do something like this. This one is similar down here, but the difference is that this middle box here, it's going to have a header and paragraph that's going to grow to the left and the right. So this is going to kind of move with both sides, and it will expand and contract depending on how big the screen is. So let's get started. Let's see if we can design this right here. So I'm going to go into my About page. I got my About CSS. I'll put it over here. Kind of minimize it for now. Let's get started. I'm going to replace the header here and describe it as About Our Staff. And then I'm going to start designing these green sections. So I forgot to put a header up here, but we're going to work on these green sections here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make a div. I'm going to borrow some of the code we used in the home page. So in our home page, we have this class called InnerBox here, and we can use that in our code. The reason we can reuse this is because we've linked our homepage CSS. Now while I'm here, I should also copy and paste this and link our About CSS. I forgot to do that in the last video. So again, this InnerBox CSS is in the homepage. That's going to give us the kind of look we have where each of the boxes kind of looks like this. So just a quick way to get started there. Okay, let's go ahead and do our headers. I'm gonna make this a smaller header, maybe H2. And call this baristas. And a paragraph, meet our baristas. Let's save it. Let's see if that's working so far. Let's go to the About page. Okay, and so now we have this barista section. And now we're kind of coming to the part where we want to get these smaller sections here. So each of these yellowish sections I'm going to make using a div. And inside the div will be a paragraph or header and an image. And we're going to have 3 of them. Let's get started with that. Let's go ahead and we're going to do this inside this inner box here. So that's going to be this whole section. But now underneath that, I'm going to make another div that's going to represent our flex area. So here, I'll make another div. And since this is just basically a one-off, I'm going to give it a style. Maybe it's not a one-off. Let's make an ID for it. I'm going to call this barista section. I'm just going to put a paragraph in it for now, just to kind of get a feel for it. I'm going to give the barista section a background color. I'll use one of my colors up here. Oh, this powder blue. Let's see how that's looking so far. Okay, so we just have this kind of like test section here. So now we need to input those different barista pictures. So let's delete this test. I'm going to make a div for each of them. And I'm going to give them a class, just call it barista. We're going to reuse this a few times. We'll give a header. I'll do a small header. Just going to say barista1. Obviously we should use a name, but just going to go for speed here, and let's do an image. I've uploaded a few more images in my image folder. I have 3 barista pictures, barista 1, 2, and 3, and then an owner picture and a second owner picture. So we'll use these 3. You can use something else if you want, whatever you find. Get yourself 3 different pictures or images to use. These are in my images folder, barista 1. I don't really know how this picture is going to look, and I kind of want all the images to be the same size. So that way when they're displayed next to each other, they're going to look nice. So I'm going to give this a width of 200 pixels and a height of 150 pixels. Obviously this might not be great ratio wise, but the images will be consistent at least. If I save this and run it, okay, there's our first barista. Maybe not the perfect image ratio, but we have the picture there. Let's go ahead and duplicate this a few times. Let's basically make 3 of them. Barista 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to change the photo names. So I have barista 2 and its extension, barista 3 and that extension. Okay. So now we have each of these baristas lined up here. Let's see what else we could do. At this point, we're kind of starting to use our CSS. We have them aligned this way, but we probably want them horizontally displayed. So let's go ahead and do that. The barista section, if we want to have them aligned, we can use display flex. So I'm going to add that next. Display flex. That should have a dramatic improvement on our images. Okay, so now they all are pushed up. They no longer take up the full width with their spacing. And if we want to space them evenly, we can use justify content. You can do space around, space between. Both of them look rather nice. Okay, and now we kind of get this spacing here. If we wanted a little space after, we might want to add some margin. Let's play around with it a little bit. Maybe for each of these classes of barista, we could add some margin below. This is a class, so we would do dot barista. Let's try margin bottom. Let's try 10 pixels. This might not work. Let's see. Okay, and then we get a little bit of margin down there. I'm going to up it a little bit, maybe 20. And if we also kind of wanted to delineate these baristas, we could give them a background color too. We would give each of these divs a background, each of these barista divs here. So I'm going to give them a background color. I'm going to use one of my colors, probably this light cyan. You can pick. Let's see how that looks. Okay. We're not getting too much space here, so I might add some padding to that. Maybe 10 pixels. Let's go 20. Okay, that adds some padding. I still don't like this spacing up here, so I might add some margin there as well. Let's do margin top, 20 pixels. Now we kind of got them nicely spaced out like this. Let's finish by adding some borders here. I can add a border around my outer section. Border, let's use one of our colors. I'm just gonna use this bold color here. Yeah, let's use this bold. I'll do 2 pixels. I'm gonna try some other styles. Let's do ridge. I'm also gonna add a border around my baristas. Change up the color to gunmetal. I'll do double for that, just to explore some different border styles. So we got a border around our outer section and a border around each of the baristas. A little small. Might want to increase the pixels here. How about 10? Might be too big, but we'll find out. And you can play around with this, make it look a little nicer, but we have this kind of at least structure. We have this setup where they're nicely spaced out, and we have our kind of different sections delineated. This video is getting a little long. I'm going to pause it here, and then in the next video we'll do our second section for this page.